First, I want to offer my deepest condolences to all the people of America who have suffered and continue to suffer great losses from the devastating wildfires. The images of raging infernos engulfing vast areas, of homes reduced to ashes, and of pristine forests destroyed are etched in our hearts. But above all is the heartbreaking loss of life. Precious lives, loved ones gone forever, leaving unspeakable pain for families, friends, and the entire community. Nothing can fully express the grief of losing a home, a place filled with memories, love, and safety. Nothing can compensate for the pain of losing loved ones in such tragic circumstances. These wildfires not only destroy physical things, but also shatter thousands of hearts and sweep away millions of dreams in a sea of flames. I want to express my respect for the firefighters and volunteers who are selflessly battling the flames. Their tireless efforts to save lives, protect property, and stop the spread of the fire are a powerful testament to the spirit of unity and human compassion in adversity. In moments like these, no matter where we are in the world, we feel the interconnectedness of humanity. It is empathy for the pain of others, a desire to share the burden with those facing tragedy. America's pain today is also a reminder of the value of life, of impermanence, and of the importance of cherishing the simplest things. Looking at the devastating consequences of this disaster, we cannot help but ask ourselves, why do such things happen? Is this just a natural phenomenon, or does it contain deeper messages that nature wants to convey? Let's try to look at the fire from the perspective of Buddhist karma, the fires in America and karma in Buddhism. Wildfires, at first glance, are a natural phenomenon, occurring when factors like high temperatures, strong winds, and dry vegetation combine to create a disaster. However, from a Buddhist perspective, natural phenomena are also part of the law of karma. This law applies not only to individuals, but also to groups, nations, and the entire ecosystem. So, can what America, the world's leading power, is facing be seen as an inevitable consequence of past actions? Buddhism teaches, you reap what you sow. The law of karma is one of the fundamental principles, sparing no one or any entity, whether an individual or a nation. When a person or a nation performs an action, that action creates karma, like sowing a seed. Over time, that seed will sprout and bear fruit. Karmic consequences can come immediately or after a long time, but they will certainly appear. In the context of America, their actions, especially wars and excessive exploitation of nature, can be considered karma. This karma is sown not only within the nation, but also spreads throughout the world. Therefore, what America is facing today, such as wildfires, climate change, and other natural disasters, can be seen as the fruit of what they have caused in the past. Since World War II, America has emerged as a global superpower with superior economic and military might. Not only dominating the world in technology, culture, and trade, America also plays the role of international police, intervening in regions across the globe in the name of protecting peace, democracy, and national interests. However, under the guise of a peace mission, America's interventions have left enormous consequences, both in terms of lives and property. Looking back at history, could what America has sown become part of the karmic retribution that this nation is suffering, especially through natural disasters like wildfires, climate change, and more? Let's analyze this in more detail. After World War II, America emerged as an unchallenged superpower. With a powerful industrial system and an economy accounting for over 20% of global GDP, America is the main driver of global economic, technological, and cultural trends. The U.S. military, with a defense budget of over $800 billion USD per year, larger than the combined defense budgets of the next 10 countries, is the most powerful force on the planet. However, along with power, America has not hesitated to use its authority to intervene in international affairs. In the name of protecting democracy and fighting terrorism, this nation has conducted a series of wars and military interventions, large and small, across the globe. Each war not only caused heavy losses to the affected countries, but also raised questions about America's historical responsibility. The Vietnam War, 1955-1975. The war in Vietnam is one of the darkest chapters in the history of U.S. military intervention. The war in Vietnam is one of the darkest chapters in the history of U.S. military intervention. Loss of life. More than 3 million Vietnamese were killed, most of whom were civilians. In addition, millions were injured or lost their homes, leaving Vietnamese society devastated for decades. Environmental destruction. the US sprayed over 80 million liters of Agent Orange on the forests and mountains of Vietnam. This chemical not only destroyed the ecosystem but also caused serious health problems for millions of people, including birth defects and cancer. Cost of war. The US spent about 168 billion USD, equivalent to over 1,000 billion USD today, on this war, but withdrew in defeat in 1975. The Korean War, 1950-1953. The Korean War was another military conflict in which the US participated as part of the United Nations coalition to prevent the spread of communism. Loss of life. More than 2.5 million people were killed, including soldiers and civilians. Millions were injured, while major cities like Seoul and Pyongyang were heavily destroyed. Long-term impact. The war led to the division of the Korean Peninsula, which continues to this day with political and military tensions. Cost of war. The US spent about 30 billion USD at the time, equivalent to about 340 billion USD today. The Iraq War, 2003-2011. The Iraq War, initially justified by the search for weapons of mass destruction, caused much controversy and severe consequences. Loss of life. About 200,000 Iraqis were killed, most of whom were civilians. In addition, millions were left homeless due to destroyed infrastructure. Political consequences? The war weakened the Iraqi political system, leading to the rise of terrorist organizations like ISIS, Islamic State. Cost of war. The US spent over 2,000 billion USD on this war, a huge cost that increased the national debt. The war in Afghanistan, 2001-2021. The longest war in US history. The war in Afghanistan began with the goal of overthrowing the Taliban and capturing Osama bin Laden after the 9/11's terrorist attacks. Loss of life. More than 240,000 people were killed, including soldiers, civilians, and Taliban fighters. Social consequences. Afghanistan became a country full of instability, with a weakened political system and an economy dependent on foreign aid. Cost of war. The US spent over 300 billion USD on the war, but eventually withdrew its troops in 2021, leaving Afghanistan in chaos. Over 80 wars, large and small, since World War II. In addition to the major wars mentioned above, the US has participated in over 80 smaller wars and military interventions around the globe. These interventions have spanned from the Middle East, Africa, to Latin America and Asia. Some typical examples are the Cuban Missile Crisis, 1961. The US funded and trained Cuban exiles to overthrow Fidel Castro's government but failed in the Bay of Pigs invasion. The Gulf War, 1990-1991. The US led a coalition to repel Iraqi forces from Kuwait, causing significant damage to Iraq's infrastructure. Intervention in Libya, 2011. The US and NATO conducted a military campaign to overthrow Muammar Gaddafi's regime, leading to prolonged instability in Libya. The consequences of these actions are millions of deaths, tens of millions of displaced people, and trillions of dollars spent. The severe wildfires in the US are not just a natural disaster, but also a reminder of this nation's responsibility to the world. From a karmic perspective, nature is responding to what humans, and specifically America, have caused. Climate change. The US is one of the largest emitters of greenhouse gases, contributing to the acceleration of climate change, the main cause of wildfires. America, as the world's leading power, cannot deny its responsibility for the natural and social disasters that are occurring. From a karmic perspective, their past actions are creating the karmic retribution they are suffering today. To mitigate the consequences, it is crucial for America to look back at the past, change its thinking, and move towards a more sustainable future for itself and the entire planet. This fire is just a very small fruit compared to the enormous karma that America has caused to the world in the past. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any comments on the video, please leave them in the comments section. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.